YouTube and welcome to another video. Now this video is going to be all about my T5 campervan, the state it's in now and a few things about the work I've done to it to get it to this level, and just a bit of information for those of you that might want to pursue the same route, might want to be interested in the van that I go away in. We use this van pretty much to go around bits of Europe when we can on holiday, and I also use it, as you probably know, to do a lot of photographic locations, whether that be just one night or going away for the weekend. So hopefully this vlog will show you a bit about the van. Maybe you want to do it yourself, maybe you want some ideas, kind of show it off to you. Hope you enjoy it. I'm going to talk about a bit of the history of the van. So we've had the van now coming up 3 years and we paid about £6,500 for it. It was at 96,000 miles then, and it's a Volkswagen T5 campervan, or panel van should I say, from 2004. Now when I bought the van, I paid £6,500 for it, which is probably about £1,000 more than the base van for the mileage it had done. But at the time of buying it, it did have side windows fitted, and it had the side of the van lined. Also, it had the floor done, so a lot of the work was done for me already. It meant I didn't have to do any of the insulation, any of the thermal and sound deadening that you had to do to it, and also it meant that the windows and stuff like that were fitted, so it meant it was a lot easier. It also was a tailgate van, which is what I wanted. So yeah, I went for it, purchased it, and since then I've done quite a lot of things to get it to the level I want it at. Now as we're sat in the front of the cab, I will talk about a few of the things we've done in here first. One of the first things I did when I got the van was to fit this kind of improved light up here, the one that comes with the map reading lights, which just makes it a lot better when you get in the cab. You get kind of twice the light really, so it's a lot better. And also you got these map reading lights which you can, if the passenger wants to look at something when you're driving, it doesn't dazzle you so much. Really easy to fit, really cheap modification, 100% recommend it. Another thing I definitely recommend, if you are getting a van with winders, it has non-electric windows like this originally came with, fit some electric windows. These are only about £100 to fit yourself. I've done a video on it, so I will link it up. They're auto closure ones, so you only have to push the button once and they will go up and down, and they also automatically go up when you lock the vehicle from the key. Another thing I fitted, is pretty much one of the other first things I fitted to this, was a CAN bus Cat 1 alarm system. Really easy to fit. I've got a video on that as well. There'll be lots of videos that I try and link to as this one goes on, just to kind of try and help you out if you want to do the same. That really improves our security when we're abroad, or anywhere really, and it just gives us a bit more kind of peace of mind when we're using the van, or when we're away from the van, should I say. Also I fitted, which you can only just see the top of, some armrests to this chair to make it into a captain's chair. Makes a lot of difference when you're traveling over big distances. Really helps with the comfort of the van with driving. Definitely recommend that. The van did come with a Pioneer head unit as well, really nice radio, and one of the first things I did to this van was fit a reverse camera, which really helps with parking and stuff like that. When you're parallel parking, really improves the use of the vehicle. I'd highly recommend fitting one. They're not expensive, so definitely recommend that. It's pretty much it for the front of the van really. Not too much else has gone on in here. It's pretty standard. I will be potentially doing some seat covers or some new upholstery of the seats in the future. For the time being, I'm quite happy with how they are. They're comfortable. I'm going to take you to the back now. Welcome to the main part of our van. This is obviously the nerve centre. This is where everything happens. This is where we sleep, cook, spend a lot of our evenings in here. Kind of where everything happens really. I'm not going to be filming like this all the way because you're simply not going to be able to see what I'm talking about very well, and my arm will go dead holding the camera at this length. I'm going to spin you around now and we're going to talk through what I've done to it, and you can see the things I've changed and what I've done. This is our kitchen units. I fitted these about 2-3 months after having the van. It came in a semi-kit form, came from a company in Plymouth, and basically what you had to do is assemble it all, paint it all, and you also had to scribe it into the back of the van. So it's not just a simple fit and forget thing. It did involve quite a lot of effort. What I also did to the unit when I fitted it is I didn't just want the MDF worktop on top of the kitchen. I knew it'd get scratched. I knew it wouldn't last long if it got wet. So what I did is I bought a beach worktop. This cost me about £40, this worktop. It's quite thick, it's solid, it's real beach. Occasionally I re-oil it, but it does pretty well, to be honest. And what I did is I routed out all the way underneath so that it would fit on top of the original MDF worktop, and you wouldn't be able to see it at the front. So it actually looks like it is the only piece on the top, but it is actually this on top of the MDF. It's quite a simple kitchen. You'll notice we don't have a fridge in it. We have 3 cupboards here. We have a slot in the middle which is meant for wine and bottles. I have a fire extinguisher and an air freshener. Occasionally we stick a bottle in there, but most of the time it just gets full of junk. This cupboard here, which I'll talk you through now, we'll do them in order. Now this one is where I have a random jumble of plates, bowls, generally stuff to eat from. It does need a good tidy out, I will admit. It's coming up to the winter now and it's had several uses of me being away doing photography stuff in it. The one below we have general things like oil for the van. We have a lot of electrical stuff, wires in these boxes. These boxes are really handy. I'd highly recommend buying loads of these if you're going to get a camper van. Just general stuff in there really. We have a 600 watt inverter here, and I also in the back beside that have my fuse board for all my 12 volt electrics. I also have a diesel night heater fuel tank there, which is a 5 litre tank, obviously runs on diesel. The next cupboard across, this is my water. We don't drink from this, to be honest. We just use it for cleaning the hands, and it also links into the shower, which I'll talk a bit more about a bit later. We also have first aid kit in there, these packing pieces which sometimes I use for leveling the van. I have a load here as well, although I do need to get a bit of a better solution to that. We have our electric pump on top of here, air pump for our mattresses, sometimes if we're in a tent. And also mainly I bought that to blow up our inflatable boat that we use sometimes. I have this piece of wood which I put on here, which sometimes I store cutlery in and various other things when it's not just stuck in this other cupboard. It's pretty much that one done. This cupboard here is slightly better organised. This is our cooking cupboard. I have a toasting thing here which I'm probably going to throw away because they are terrible. We have a UV lamp for mosquitoes for when we're abroad and we get fed up with getting bitten at night. General pots, pans, more storage boxes here which you can't really see. Obviously this cupboard needs a big clean. And also more storage boxes down here. We have a hammock here, various pots and pans. Ones like this are really good, collapsible. They get really kind of deep when you extend them. We also have our gas bottle in the back of this cupboard. We use camping gas, which means we can refill easily when we're in Europe, and also you can get them, like I say, all over the place. They're also slightly smaller bottles. They cost you a bit more, but they take up less room. It'll still easily do us a whole year, maybe more, the gas in that. We don't really use it too much. We tend to cook outside the van. Looking at the top, we have a SMEV. I'm going to have to forgive me if I get a lot of this wrong because it's ages since I fitted them. I think it's a 922. One which has a sink, a tap here. Can do hot and cold, but we just run it on the cold. We only have one water container. We have a double gas hob here. We have one metal thing missing. I got this, the tap, the electrics for it, the pump, all the plumbing, the sink, and the whole unit pretty much brand new for just under £100 because I bought one where the person had smashed this. So you can get a lot of stuff for these vans cheaply, and I'll be talking through a lot of that as I do the tour of the van, so you can kind of understand it doesn't cost so much to convert one of these. Under this latch here we have our cool box. Now what I've done with this cool box is I've put 2 fans in the back, which you should be able to just see there. They take the heat out, and what I've also done is I've Celitexed insulated around the cool box, and then I've filled it with expanding foam, and that cool box is solid in there. It's not going anywhere, and because it's so well insulated, it will actually get us about 20 degrees cooler than the atmospheric temperature. It's not going to beat a fridge, but for the price of it, it's a good alternative. And the fact is that I can get it in there without losing space for a cupboard. And our biggest problem when we're away is storage. Definitely storage. We go away in this van sometimes for a month to Europe, 2 of us, and we tend to eat fresh anyway, and we don't really miss a fridge enough to lose the storage space we would lose in this cupboard. It's more important to have that. At the top we have overhead storage, blankets, beach blanket, various other things. This one's stuffed with games behind that as well. This one, a few other random things up here as well. This one's our books if we're reading. We also have random stuff stored on here, normally cables, wires, things for charging. I have the switches here which do our digital display. Always have that on the switch because I would not be able to sleep with that light on at night. It'd do my nutting. This one here switches our fridge on and off. Then we have switches here which do the light at the top. We can either have it as white or blue, a bit darker at night if you don't want people knowing you're in the van really. Up here we have our carbon monoxide detector. It's also a temperature gauge, although it's so inaccurate I won't even bother with that. Let's have a look now. It reckons it's 16 degrees, which it definitely isn't. We have our diesel night heater. Here we have an Eberspatcher D2, which I'll talk about a bit later. And we also have a really cool fire alarm here, really tiny. I'll put down a lot of this in the description or on the screen if I can't remember the exact name of them, but this is a really small alternative, saves you having to have a massive smoke alarm there. Various other things on here, just kind of store. We got smidge spray if you ever go to Scotland, make sure you get that, or if you ever go to Scandinavia. The curtains are one of the first things I fitted in this vehicle, simply because the guy I bought the van off gave me them. He never got around to fitting them. Really handy. They're really good blackout blinds. You shut them and you cannot tell it's the light outside. We also have the same curtains here which come across. If we're on a proper campsite, I will use a wraparound for the front. But if I'm wild camping on my own and I want to get away in case some madman starts attacking the van in the middle of the night, I won't use a wraparound obviously. I'll just use these curtains. I can jump in the seat and off I am. Right, so while we're here, we'll talk about what's under here. We have our 120, 130 amp leisure battery under there. It's quite a big one, just about fits. We also have our 12 volt diesel night heater, our Eberspatcher D2 in there. Just about fits next to it, and we have the outlet of it just here. I'm kind of seeing how this goes at the moment, this outlet. It's only been in there a few months. I might end up cutting a hole in this to have a proper outlet. That works really well. I've used it several times. Really makes the van hot. It's quite quiet when it settles down once it's done its pre-warm up. That's the stuff under there. I will be linking up probably to some stuff to do that if you want to see more. Our bed is now this one came from Wales. It's one with the headrest built in. This was £650. It's a big investment, but the amount you use it, it's well worth it. These beds can range anywhere from £300 to probably £2,000 to be honest, depending on what spec you want. It's not a crash tested one, but at the time we bought it, and at present we don't have any children, so we don't really have any people in the back of the van. If it was to change in the future and I was to be ferrying a lot of people around in the back, I potentially might think about upgrading that. Although this does look very solidly built, this one, and it has a lot of locks and latches down here which do keep it kind of secure. So really pleased with that. Very, very good bed. Very comfortable. It's quite hard, so we do use a memory topper on it as well. And I'll just show you how you open it. All you do on this one is you hold this, which I'm going to struggle doing while I'm holding onto this as well. You lift up and you simply pull the bed forward, and then that's it, the bed's out. And then how you put it back up, you pull on this bit here, and then the bed will simply pull back up. We do have a portaloo in this van. It's only ever been used once, I think, in all the times we've been away. It's just more of an emergency thing. It lives under the seat here. If I want to use it, I can lift it up and pull it out the way. While we're talking about seats, I fitted a swivel base on here probably about a year ago now. Doesn't get used a massive amount, to be honest, but when it is, it's really handy. We don't use it as much, sounds stupid, we don't use it as much to sit on, but when you're camping and you're in the back and you want to have access to stuff which you don't have room for in the back, like bags and things like that, it's really good because you can swivel it, and then what you can do is you can then just put your bags on it and get access to them without having to lean over the chairs and stuff like that. So it really makes a big difference. All you do to swivel it on this one, and it's a Caravan's base, these set you back somewhere around about £200, I believe. They're not cheap, maybe a bit more, but they are quite handy to have, and they're very well made. There's two levers, two things to undo on here. I'll get the turn, shows how often we use it. Another one here, there's two more at the front. Once you do those, you unlock it and you swivel it. Right, these bases are notoriously difficult to swivel when you first get them. I've had it for about a year now and have slightly picked up the knack. What you got to do, if you're not done it before, if you're thinking of getting one, you've got to put it in gear, make sure it's on a level ground so it doesn't roll, and because you've got to actually leave the handbrake off. So I'm going to lean over now and take the handbrake off, hopefully without rolling down the hill. And then what you've got to do is you've got to push the seat all the way forward, kind of wiggle as it goes. You've got to push it as far towards the gear stick as you can. Once it's like that, you can swivel it. I tend to find on this one I get the curtain caught in it when I do it. And then it just kind of pulls over, but you've got to keep on making sure you push it as far forward as you can, and then it will tend to clear it. Once it's changed like that, then you can lock it down if you need to. To be honest, you don't have to. You can push it back like that and get a bit more room if you want to. It just means that if we're camping in it, we can have then use this as a bench to store stuff on, which is quite handy, just because it's easier to get to. There's pretty much everything in here really. I'm going to open up the boot now, or the tailgate, and I'm going to show you what it's like at the back of the van. Right, the back of the van is a bit of a storage place, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff here. Always got the two umbrellas. You never know when it's going to rain. Always got the wellies as well to hand. We do have a solar panel on the roof, which I'll show off in a minute when I do the kind of outside of the van. This is the charge controller from it. It kind of shows us the state the battery's in, how much it's bringing at the moment. You can see there's no sun today. We got no charge in it at all. This is obviously the bed at the back, and we do also have a flap here which we can open up and allows us to put a shower head in. And I do actually have a shower outside the van in this, obviously in my board shorts or something like that. Handy hook here which normally got coats on it. Stuff like this is really handy, makes a big difference. We normally got 2-3 coats hanging off that with no problem at all. We have a cupboard back here as well, which I'm not going to bother going into. It's just got random things like stools. It's got like our electric hookup cable, various things like that in there. Just mallets and other junk that gets chucked in there. We got our camping table here, which is quite good. We use this most times we go away, to be honest. Once that's pulled out the way, we have a Safari Chef multi-purpose kind of barbecue grill, various stuff like that. We use that quite a lot. We have a load of chairs stuffed under here, probably 2-3 camping chairs. We also have a Remo Charlie, maybe it's called, which goes on our awning rail, which I'll show you in a minute, which is pretty bad in the wind, not very stable, but if it's a nice day, you can use it to keep the sun off you and keep the rain off you if it's going to rain a bit. A box full of random storage. This mainly has gas canisters in for things like gas lanterns and also various other cooking things we might use out the van, the gas for the grill, various other things like that. We've got a nice ground sheet here if we want to put it out on the ground. Pretty much the back of the van sorted really. We also have a table here, Now I made these brackets up myself. I literally just bought a bit of tube and 2 brackets, and the other end is just secured with these homemade bungee straps. It works pretty well. Also have a light here, which works off one of these switches. This switch here does the light, as you can see. Really handy for lighting up the back of the ground behind the van, that is, just in case you lost something at night or you're trying to find something. We also have the switch in the middle, which activates the same pump which does the tap. Because the actual tap is switched off by the sink, I've teed into it for the shower. So if I use that to switch it on, plug in the shower head into the shower, I get the same water that is used for the shower, used for the sink there to wash with. We do heat the water as well. I'm not going to go into it now. There's a video for that if you want to find it. I might put it up in the description if it won't fit in the video. This one's spare at the moment. I'll find a use for it at some point. That's the back of the van sorted. Right, I've got the table off the back now. A handy little tip, if you're going to put these on the back of the van, sometimes these legs go a bit slack. Put 2 little clips either side, like I have. I normally have an elastic band, although it has broken from probably years of being there. Put a little elastic band over this bit and it will just keep it tight, stop it rattling when you drive. I hate rattles in these vans. There's enough of them as it is with all the stuff you carry. Basically what you do, take the end bits, open up these little latches here, and then these simply clip on the bar here, pull the bit underneath, do them up, and that's it. You can actually leave the table like this. When you drive, you can just sit on the ground, or you lift it up, pull out the leg, and it sits on the ground. Now there is actually a lock in the bottom of the ground as well, which this will lock into. You can fit behind there on the chair. You can use a laptop on there, have something to eat on there, do whatever you want. It will also slide down this rail, so you can have it in any position you want. You can even have it close enough to work on the chair here. So that's our table, not much more else to say about that. So this is our van from the outside, obviously. You notice first thing, it's this 2-tone colour. I only had this done probably something like 4 or 5 months ago. The van obviously was all white when I first had it, and it's been all white for the first probably 2 years. Now I kind of did it because I quite like the look of the 2-tone, and I want something that was a bit more subtle, so it's not very dark. I wanted like a light blue, and sometimes I think it's a bit lilac-y, but it's quite a nice colour. It's a retro colour, it's from a retro range, so it's quite a nice pastel. The reason I went for it as well is the van was getting to that age where it did start needing some bodywork doing to it, which has all been done and the van's fine now and sound. But at the same time, it's getting to the age where the paintwork needs a bit more protection than it probably would have done at one point. It's a vinyl wrap. Really cheap. This only actually cost me £400 to get done. Crazy price, and it's the reason I went for it. I won't be able to get it done at that price again, put it that way. But I'm really happy with it. So that's the first thing you kind of notice. We've got a few other little cool things on the van. I got my Devon Cow sticker. A bit of fun as well. I've got some flags for every country the van's been in, or where we've been in it with it when we've been touring. I changed these to clear indicators not too long ago, probably about 6 months ago to be honest. Probably the same time I was doing the wrap, to be honest. Just look a bit nicer, get rid of the orange amber indicators there. The awning rail, this isn't a Remo one, this is, I can't remember, I'll put it up. It's one that's about half the price. It's pretty much exactly the same thing really.
It's an awning rail obviously, and we do use this to put our Remo Charlie on, and we also use it, we have a Royal Explorer Expedition or something like that, driveway awning, which we use if there's a big group of us. It does actually get used quite a lot, this does. It's one that gets fitted with screws and Silkaflex. That's pretty much it from the outside. These bars, or from the back should I say, sorry, these side bars were fitted about a year and a half ago. Just improved the look of the van slightly, I think. I went for the black ones simply because there's not much other chrome on it, and I knew I didn't want to go for alloys, so I wasn't going to match them up with the alloys. The roof bars were here when I bought the van. They do get used quite a lot, to be honest. There's not a lot you can put on them because they are very shallow ones, but we put surfboards on them a lot, so they do get used a lot. Wind brakes, I put these wind deflectors on quite soon since I got the van. The van does not have air conditioning. I'm not too bothered, to be honest, but it does mean that when we're abroad we do often have to have the windows open, and it just stops you getting that kind of fierce wind coming through when you're on the toll roads and going quite quickly. Coming back to the side, really, I've not gone for alloy wheels. I've gone for these, which are off the T32s. They're steels. I quite like the steel look, and I like the fact that it's slightly different. Also, where I live on Dartmoor, or in Devon, and I visit Dartmoor a lot, I'm often in rural parts, like this muddy lane I'm on now, and alloy wheels just wouldn't really work with me. I don't think. I'd end up damaging them, or I'd end up having to forever clean them. Steels, on the other hand, are generally more indestructible. I also wanted to go for the AT look, which is basically simply because I think it looks quite nice on these vans, and also the grounds I drive on often are rough. I do also race occasionally motocross, and I do carry the bike on the back of this van when I go to those events, and the fields and the tracks and the car parks we often go to those events are quite rough. And I just didn't want to be going there with kind of low profile tyres, so these tyres really suit me. I've only actually had them on there for tyre wise for about a month now. Really like them. They're Geolander GO155s or GO55s. They're kind of an all-terrain tyre, so they're semi off-road, semi on-road. They're slightly noisier than normal tyres, but they give you a bit more cushioning. The suspension's not so harsh with them, and also because the diameter on them is slightly bigger, the engine does rev slightly less for the same speed that you get on a kind of normal tyre. Apart from that, really happy with these. I'll take you around the front now just so you can see what it looks like there. Right, it just has started raining now. It's been threatening all day. It is Dartmoor, it does it all the time. This is the front. As you can see, they've also wrapped all the bumpers. This is a Caravelle bumper, which I fitted probably about a year after I had the van. Blacked out grille, blacked out badge, which is actually carbon fibre effect on it, which I think looks really nice. These inserts, I was going to have them wrapped, and I still might do, so let me know whether you think that they would look better wrapped the same colour or not. At the moment, I've just sprayed them black. Not too much else changed from the front, really. Standard bonnet, standard T5 lights, nothing fancy about these at all. I did wire in these fog lights as well, and I have also fitted some automatic headlights on here, so we get them coming on automatically when we when it gets dark, basically, and also when we unlock the van. Although it's got a sensor and it's probably not going to be dark enough to set them off yet, I've put a bit of paper in front of the sensor to try and get it to work, but I don't think they're going to work. But you should be able to see the windows here, so I can show off the auto closure windows if I lock the van now. That side always, oh look, they are working. Yeah, so it's dark enough to set them off, and also we can see this window going up now. Just to show off some of the things that I have done to it. They should time out after a couple of seconds now. There you go. That's pretty much it done, really. There's a few things extra, like the solar panel on the roof. We have a 120 watt panel. It's a semi-flexible panel, and I've simply Silkaflexed that onto the roof. Nothing too fancy about that at all. There's also a few things I got to mention, like we have a electric hookup in the very back of the van, which is just under the bumper. And I also have the RCD 240 mains fuse box in the very back of the van, under the cupboard there where the stalls are. Pretty much it really. Going ahead, the only thing I'm likely to probably change on this is maybe do something with the front seats, maybe reupholster them. There's always stuff on these vans you want to do, there's always stuff you want to change. They're great to work on, and I would highly recommend it. If you are thinking of buying one to convert yourself, they're not overly expensive to convert. I have done a video about 6 months ago from this van, which went through the cost of converting one. So that's probably one of the videos I'd highly recommend you watching if you've seen this. It's just me sat in the van going through the things we have in it and telling you how much they cost, telling you how much my overall bill came to. But you can easily convert these things for around about 3 to 5 or 3 to 6,000 depending on the spec you want, and they're really great to get away with and to use. I use this van probably for a good something like 40 to 50 nights a year. I'm in this van, so it's really worth having. And to be honest, most of the time with those, I'm not on a campsite, I'm wild camping in it. So it doesn't cost a lot. It means you can get away to some cool places. I've just come back from Wales, where I was away in it for 4 or 5 days. Went to Snowdonia and Anglesey. Only really cost me the fuel to get up there and my dinner and my lunch. So yeah, highly recommend them. Thanks for watching this one. I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but I've been wanting to get the tyres done and get it to a level that I'm happy to re-show off. Forgive the weather and the rain, it's probably not looking its best. Hope you've enjoyed this video anyway. Hopefully I've improved it upon the last time. Sorry it's gone on for a bit long. I'll leave it there now. Thanks for watching. If you have liked it, please give it a thumbs up, and please consider subscribing to the channel. I've lots of stuff about the van which I've done over the years, and also there's a lot of content about photography, and there will be more stuff coming up from this in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch up with you again on one of the future videos.